And welcome back, folks, and welcome to our final content session here as part of this Dremio showcase. I hope you're enjoying the event so far and watching along. And so we've reconfigured a few things here in the studio. Our panelists have now vacated the space, but one of those is going to join us here again for our final session here today, and it is Mark who's going to join us here in the studio to talk all things supply chain, I believe, and of course the role in which data plays. So Mark,
thanks very much.
Just like magic, here you are here in the studio.
Completely like magic. I was beamed in.
Exactly.
Absolutely yes. Great. First of all, can I thank you for using such a terrible picture of me? I really, I can't bear it. So I'm actually here to talk about data as a force multiplier. But before I get into the force multiplication side of things, I just want to talk a little bit about the company I work for, who we are, just to give everybody a bit of background.
Yeah.
Now,
I'll hand things over to you then in that case, and we'll get your slides ready momentarily. Okay. Yeah, no, just because we'll get those beamed in just like yourself. They're going to appear for our audience to watch along. And again, any thoughts, do share it with us whilst you're watching along. But all being well, they will now be ready for everyone to see as well. There they are.
Okay, got it.
I assure you, Mark. So look, it's over to you.
Okay, perfect. So the title of this is Data as a Force Multiplier. I'm going to start, as I implied, by talking about who we are, Maersk. And this is what most people think Maersk is. Most people think Maersk is a company that owns huge numbers of metal boxes that sit on the back of trucks or trains or ships and move around the world. And of course, to a certain extent, that is true. But in fact, Maersk is way, way more than that. And that's what's so exciting about working in logistics and what makes it such a superb place for a career. What Maersk really is a whole bunch of things. Everything from air cargo, through large shipping vessels, through warehouses, and right down to last mile delivery of goods right to people. So the strapline there is perfectly accurate, from the farm to your fridge or the warehouse to your wardrobe. And that is what we are. We are the integrator of choice throughout the industry. Now, it is, of course, an industry that has lots of scale, lots of complexity, and by definition is global. And I've just put this here to focus people's minds a little bit on what that means. So if you take that vessel in front of us there, that's what we call a Triple E. It's the biggest vessel we have at this moment in time. A single 40-foot shipping container can hold over 8,000 boxes of shoes, 8,000 shoe boxes. One of these ships can move 64 million pairs of shoes in just one trip. So if you think about that scale, and of course the complexity is every one of those boxes that goes on there, which is what we call the containers, typically goes to a different place, a different organisation. So very, very complex when one of these beasts turns up somewhere. We're also leading the charge, for those of you that understand what's going on in the planet, which hopefully is everybody, we're leading the charge towards decarbonising our fleet all the way to zero is our strapline here. And in fact, about 2 months ago, we launched the world's first carbon neutral vessel, which is fantastic. All of our new vessels are capable of running on carbon neutral fuel, and we take it really very seriously, decarbonising the planet. So the team I run is called Polaris. Very proud to work with my guys. Excellent set of guys and indeed women around the world. And we look after data integration, and you can see, very luckily when we chose the name Polaris, it has got AI in it in the right order. So we were dead lucky there, and we've now highlighted the AI as things move. Question earlier was, how important is data to our organisation? Well, this is kind of how we see data. It's an asset that never depletes, never wears out, and can be used in multiple use cases at zero marginal cost. Now, years ago, and I'm going back maybe 10 years, people used to say data is the new oil. It is not the new oil, because oil, of course, does deplete, does wear out, and can generally only be used in one use case. So this means that we've got this resource that we can leverage, and we can leverage it to what we call force multiply. Now, what is a force multiplier? Well, it's actually a military term originally, and it's about a combination of factors that dramatically increase the effectiveness of an item or a group. So if you have a look on the left-hand side here, a whole ton of people with no data, or you give maybe one person a whole bunch of data, or preferably all of those people a whole bunch of data that's clean, good quality, all that sort of stuff. Suddenly you get however many Supermen or Batmen multiplied by the number of people. And that's really, really important to our organisation, and I would contend to almost every organisation out there. You can really use data to force multiply your people. So the question is, how do you make data a force multiplier? How do you turn Keaton into Batman? Very simple in our opinion. First of all, easy access. Set your data free. Okay, right now you've probably got data in silos everywhere, etc. You don't want to be necessarily moving it around, but you don't want to just let it go crazy like the cowboy on the left-hand side. You don't want to be having to chase it down, wrangle it, etc. And this isn't just about physical access. It's about flexible access to reliable data, okay? Your pipelines need to be ready when you say that they will be ready. It's no good saying, yeah, well, we're really flexible with our data, but not quite sure when you'll get it. That won't work. You've got to have reliable pipelines. Your data needs to be of quality. And I like to say, we want to de-wrangle the wranglers. Okay, if you think about it, data scientists historically, and anybody using data really, have spent up to 80% of their time cleaning data rather than creating insights. Now, you know, if you're only spending 20% of your time creating insights, that's a real problem, okay? We want to invert that, move left on the problem, and make sure that by the time it gets to these people, they are able to be super productive and really force multiply them with that data being provided reliably and flexibly. Other thing we're looking for is open standards. Now, why do we say open standards? There's several ways of looking at this. Some people look at open standards as, is it written in an open language? Is the product we use written in an open language? To me, that's less important than knowing that the data itself is stored in an open format. Now, why do I say that? Well, if you consider a pyramid, an app, let's say an app on your phone, how long does that last? Maybe it lasts 2 months before you get a new version. Beneath that, maybe the app itself gets outdated, you change it for another app. But beneath it, your data will live for years and years and years. And it's the same in an organization. I have no idea how long we'll use Dremio for, but I know that the data that Dremio is currently interrogating will live in our organization for years and years and years. So it's important to avoid the data being locked into any form of proprietary format. If you do that, not a smart thing to do, because you'll end up with problems when you want to move forward. So we look for standards that we can get access to without paying for premium features. I don't want to pay extra if I want to use a particular feature of something. I want it all to be there, all to be free, all to be open. And we also, for that reason, tend to look for standards where there are a number of contributors to that standard. Fairly simple. Look at the repo, see who's contributing, go for the ones that start to have adoption. On the screen here, I've just put up a few of those standards that we're looking at and we're starting to adopt. The next thing in making your data a force multiplier is definitely speed. Now, speed comes in many forms. Top of the screen, there's a cheetah and a sloth. Okay, it doesn't necessarily mean the sloth is less valid than the cheetah, unless you're particularly in a sprint race, of course. But it means that they have different requirements. So are our users. They have different requirements. Depending on what you're doing, what the nature of your job is, you might need data absolutely instantly. Let's say you're trading oil, or you're wanting to get an urgent answer to a customer, or maybe you're doing the quarterly accounts. Maybe you don't need that data to be instant, maybe an hour behind, or even as at close of business yesterday is perfectly acceptable to you. But the key thing is with speed is you've got to give data to people in the right time for their job. And you need to make sure that that data, again, coming back to what we said earlier, is absolutely accurate. Because if you put it into a model, you put it into AI, it doesn't matter what you do with data. If it's bad data, it's not going to happen. Classically, what we find with our users is they consistently say, give me data real time. But what is real time? Again, we have to come back to that. If you consider, for example, some of our vessels move, let's say, meat from Argentina to the UK. Now, you might think, well, it takes a couple of weeks for the vessel to get there. What do you need to know other than where the vessel is? But think about what happens. That meat is primarily frozen. It sits in what's called a reefer container, and that container keeps it frozen. So that container needs to send a little ping out to say, my temperature's good, my oil's working, there's no problems with the fans, etc., etc. So again, vast amounts of data, and we need to collect that data quite quickly in order that things work in the way that they do. Nobody wants to turn up to the docks with a lorry and collect 30 tons of meat that's been spoilt because it went off. So that's speed. Now, also, this is a real picture of our financial director. We want low cost. This is what we're looking for. Why are we looking for low cost? Not because we think low cost is necessarily perfect. What we're actually looking for is an intersection of good, fast, cheap, quality, the whole thing. It's almost a unicorn sitting right in the middle of that Venn diagram on the left-hand side there. But we think it's there. We think that Venn diagram can be achieved. We think we can find the unicorn. And we think we're pretty close to having found that unicorn, not just in Dremio, but across the whole organisation that we're doing now. The whole organisation we're working with is beginning to understand the importance of cost, the importance of good, fast, cheap software. But at the same time, do not compromise on reliability. If you do that, it's going to be in deep trouble. So moving on, I'm going to come back again. Here's the theme, high quality. I've chucked up an image here of high-res image and a low-res image. Now, if you look at the right-hand side there, sure, you can still see it's a flower of some sort. I have to say, I'm not a botanist or whatever, so I've got no idea what type of flower it is. It's purple, though. If you want to project something from that low-res image, much harder than the high-res image. If you zoom in, you can see it's kind of pixelated, etc. So it is with your data. We want people to be able to get down to the right granularity for their data. Granularity wins for us pretty much at every level, because the lower level of granularity you can go to, and you don't have to start there, the lower level of granularity you can go to, the better the resolution is on your image of that data, the better the resolution can be when you're doing that, particularly in something like machine learning. What we are classically doing with machine learning now is putting low-level data into a model, modeling that low-level data and looking to see what comes out from that granular data. And I think something that was alluded to in the panel was, the vast amount of data now makes it super hard for a human being to understand it. Well, guess what? That's the machine in machine learning. Put the data in there, chuck it through the system, see what comes out, refine, rinse and repeat, and do that fast. And that again is a force multiplier. We had a use case this week. I can't say the sums of money involved, but very significant, where one of my guys took some data about landing vessels that were coming in with containers, and was just predicting how they would be picked up. Would they be picked up by a truck? Would they go on a train? What type of truck, etc. Again, I can't give the exact numbers, but let's say it's significant seven-figure numbers for a model that took the guy from high-quality data less than 2 weeks, end to end, to build. Fantastic result. Kudos to Julian if you're watching. If you're not, I'll ring you tomorrow to ask why you're not watching, but that's another story. High-quality data, again, delivering results. So how is it acting as a force multiplier for Maersk? Well, there's 4 examples here, and this is the sort of thing that we would speak to our customers about. We're building efficiencies and we're saving costs, and it's keeping not just our business competitive, but their business competitive. We are a partnership with our businesses. It's an overused phrase, but we really are. The sort of things that we do, bringing visibility to our customers' supply chains, helping them deal with the complexities. We all saw during the pandemic exactly what happens when supply chains go bad, right? You can't get even the basics, let alone a VW car or whatever, because parts aren't there, things aren't there. So we're actually providing the data that helps people with their contingencies, with their resilience, and lets them respond to any market interruption better. We also want to make sure that all of our partners are in complete control of their cargo, start to finish, so we can give them that integrated supply chain from the factory right the way through to the end user. Very, very important. And that level of transparency without data, hey, it does not exist. You don't want to be sending, like the old days, faxes and emails to see what's going on. You want to go to your visibility port, see what's happening. And then finally, giving them the data trails that help them plan their cargo movement better. And the same rules apply, I would contend, no matter what business you're in. Give people those data trails. Be open with it. Start to say to people, we will open up your data that you own from our systems to you. Make it free. Let that data roam freely in a highly controlled manner. And I know that sounds like it's an oxymoron, but you can have freely roaming data, highly controlled, to the right people. And what's the exciting thing? The exciting thing for me about my role and about data, though I'm an old guy now, we are just getting started. I can't tell you how pumped I am that I'm a believer in the singularity. We're just getting started here. This is the dawn of a new era, generative AI, and what that is going to bring to data and to data solutions. And the way that I'm seeing it plugged into Dremio is super exciting. It really is. The plans that are being made, what's going to be delivered. I mean, it's just super happy. I'm not going to retire just yet. Again, if my boss is watching, not just yet. Won't be too long with a bit of luck though. And in all of this, what's the other thing that helps us use data as a force multiplier? Well, I'm going to say this. It's teamwork. And it's not just an internal team. Guys you see on screen in the middle, Batman, that's only one of our guys. We've turned them into superheroes thanks to this. And also, it's the extended team, the team at Dremio. Right-hand side, I've put Sendor in there. He really is Robin to our Batman. If we need something, very approachable, really pumping out exciting things for our organisation and listening to new features. A transformational CEO, in my opinion. On the left-hand side there is Batgirl. Apologies, Jamie, I couldn't find another Bat person who was of the right gender, so apologies. Get a nice sales guy as well. Get that relationship there, because they'll know when you're being serious and you need stuff doing and when you're not. It's about the extended team. So kind of that's it. I'm a little bit early, but that's not a problem. For those of you that will know, we all know what time of the year it is, right? This is obviously Christmas, but I just wanted to, if I can, take 1 minute personally to say I'm finishing early. It'll be wrapped up in a second. When you get off of this, you'll have a few minutes free that you probably have set aside for this call. Do yourself a favour, do somebody else a favour, pick the phone up to somebody you love but you haven't called for a little while, and just let them know that you're there and you love them. Believe me, it'll make a difference. And I apologise if that's a little bit soft, but it's really important at this time of the year as much as any other. So on that, thank you very much for your time.
There we go. Mark, thank you very much indeed for delivering what is our final keynote as part of the Dremio showcase. Some important messages in there, of course, and thoughts. And a couple of questions have come in from our audience. If you're open to just a few more minutes of your time. So first one that came in a few minutes ago, in fact, I'm just going to read it here verbatim from our audience member. They asked, what are some data and AI capabilities that rail or shipping terminals perhaps need to look at need to improve for global logistics?
Rail and shipping terminals. So I can talk about shipping terminals, probably more so than rail. So if you're a shipping terminal, when a vessel unloads, for example, think about what's going to happen to that cargo when it comes off. So a few months ago, we were looking at terminals and the containers had just been bought off and put anywhere, okay, which means you have to start moving things around within a terminal. If you take a model and can accurately predict whether that is leaving by road or rail or when it's likely to be picked up, you can put them in the right places. Saves a lot of time, a lot of money, cuts a lot of carbon. Fairly simple.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Thank you very much indeed. I think we've got a couple more trickling through, so we'll allow for that in just a moment. But I'm curious, just in simple terms, really, is AI adoption, looking ahead to 2024, is that going to be the differentiator between the so-called leaders and the laggards? Is that going to be the one?
I think it depends on how you adopt it, right? It's like anything else. I think there are always people who want to be on the leading edge, but you want to take great care you're not on the bleeding edge. It's a very fine line. It's a very fine line. So I think you need to democratize it, build the skills everywhere. For example, if you take the term AI engineer, what is an AI engineer? I think for me, everybody needs to be an AI engineer. Avoid those type of job titles, that sort of thing, because it makes people think in a certain way. If you're an AI engineer, I'm only going to do AI, it may not be the right solution for that problem. I think it will be one of the differentiators that's out there, but not necessarily the differentiator. But the application of it will be the differentiator, absolutely, in my opinion.
And if it's I think we can hear possibly Carl in our ears telling us that we do have a question that's come through from one of our audience members. So let's have a look at this and whether they're going to join us in person or if it's a question to ask. It's a question to ask for you. So our audience member wants to know this. What is the best approach to managing legacy data and legacy systems? We know that's a problem for lots of organisations. So let's think about that for a moment. I'm assuming that's something you've had to contend with.
Yeah, we've got
Maersk, right?
Everybody's got huge amounts of legacy. So I think the way that we're dealing with it is we're using a technique called facading. So we're building a virtual layer, actually using Dremio, a virtual layer on top of data sets that come from old systems. We then write everything against that virtual layer, and as we take the legacy systems and re-engineer them, that means we can unplug those data sets from beneath that virtual layer without disrupting the user. So I think it's really important to think about what's the end use of it. Number one, it's empowering the users. And then secondly, within that, I think it's about making sure that you use the right techniques initially to get that data out. So we've got, for example, a whole bunch of legacy systems now that are having Kafka put on top of them. So they're starting to event data out, even though they're legacy systems. And then again, Kafka becomes the facade. We'll unplug that legacy solution, plug in the new solution, and it'll be seamless for the user. And for me, that's a seamless experience is really what we want our users to have. We don't want disruption. Yeah, that's not the easiest of questions to answer, but some great advice for folks here today. And we've got one more, if you're we'll squeeze it in. The door's locked, so I can't get out anyway.
No, you're not leaving here anyway, so we're just going to keep it rolling.
Yeah, I'm happy, yeah.
One final question then. To what extent are you using process mining or process analytics as a way of improving operations? What are your thoughts there?
Look, that's not in my area, but I know we've done it and it's nascent in some areas. I think the whole thing with process analytics, from what I'm perceiving is a question of, do you want to mine processes that may themselves be inherently bad and just learn about them and refine a bad process? There may well be some incredible insights in there. Once you get that insight, what do you do with it? Do you automate it, or do you say, actually maybe there's a better process to use altogether? So it's not my area of expertise, but that's the way I see it. I think you're about to see a whole series of use cases come up where the changes that can be made to processes will be so transformational that you won't even have time to mine them before people have done it on their desktop themselves.
Wow. Yeah, as I said earlier, it's fascinating just how fast things have moved in just the 12 months to date.
It's incredible.
And it's amazing where we might be December next year. But that does bring us almost to time here as part of our session. Just finally, how can our audience connect with you after today?
Just hit me up on LinkedIn. I'll answer most messages unless you're a salesperson, in which case I will not answer your message. I'll just say, please call me back another day. But other than that, hit me up on LinkedIn, no problem at all.
Fantastic. Mark, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Indeed. If you stay put for just a moment, that was our final content session of this Dremio Showcase. So there we go, folks. Thank you very much for watching along. I'm going to thank our speakers, of course, and our contributors for joining us here in person today. Of course, Sender from Dremio, Mike from Intelligent Business Strategies, and Mark, who we just heard from Maersk. And my thanks to you, folks, for watching along and interacting in our chat section. It's been great to see some of your questions coming through and your comments and to reflect those live here as part of this event. It's been a fascinating insight, isn't it, into the world of data lakehouse architecture. We've heard about some of the trends that have defined 2023, and we've heard about some predictions for the year ahead. I hope you've enjoyed watching along. I hope you've enjoyed being part of this Dremio Showcase event, and I hope to see you at another one very soon. Thanks for watching along. Bye-bye.